Welcome back. It's 13 minutes to 11. You're watching Britain's Newsroom on GB News, and you've been getting in touch with your opinions on gbnews.com/your say. Gillian has a comment about the artist formerly known as Prince Andrew and his gun licence. She says, totally illegal. They cannot revoke the gun licence. Police have to talk to the certificate holder, not his valet. Hugh says, talking about the cancellations, hopefully, of the non-crime hate incidents. He says, if hate speech law has been cancelled, how does this affect banter in pubs? I think the banter ban is part of the Employment Rights Bill, which is still going ahead and is still in the House of Lords, as far as I know. And
I think the Lords will throw that bit out.
I hope so. There have been some change. They've removed the day one rights to sick pay and maternity pay, haven't they? But I'm not sure whether or not the banter ban has been changed.
Day one of your job. Hi, I'm going on maternity leave.
I know. I mean, there are laws about at what point you have to declare you're pregnant and things like this, but the Germans have a rule about sick pay where you can claim, well, they have much, much more generous sick pay than us, but as a consequence, they have huge amount of sick pay days every year. I think it's 2 or 3 times what we have, so you've got to be careful what you wish for, really, don't you?
Now, few people in the UK who don't have access to a car will find getting around on Christmas Day has long been a challenge. It certainly was for me for a long time because I didn't have access to a car and there were no trains at all.
Yeah.
I mean, and pretty much stopped from about 8 o'clock on Christmas Eve night and often not back till the day after Boxing Day, and then it's a pretty ropey service.
Yeah, and then often a lot of the trains have replacement buses instead. Well, talking of buses, this year buses and coaches are expected to save the day, with local bus journeys predicted to reach the highest level in at least a decade.
It comes as more people become more reliant on buses to get to work on Christmas Day, because, of course, a lot of people work on Christmas Day, just think the NHS, and also to get to see their family and people they love. Travel journalist Simon Calder, as ever, has the story. Simon, good morning to you.
Good morning, and I'm in beautiful Stafford in Staffordshire, and just by a bus stop. There's going to be one along in a minute, I understand, Andrew.
Now, tell us why buses are having this revival on Christmas Day, Simon.
Well, it's partly, as you were saying, due to the increasing number of people who are working at Christmas. Just to kind of spin back a few decades, I know long before either of you were born, but it used to be the case, for instance, in the 1970s, even into the 1980s, that, for example, in London, the underground system was working on Christmas Day. That's gradually been eroded along with many, many other buses. And as a result, the assumption is now that if you're one of those people who don't have a car or access to a car, it's either friends, families, taxis, or you're going to be staying put. But with the increased number of younger people who are who don't have driving licenses, partly that might be, as you've been covering on GB News, because they simply cannot get the appointment for their test. It's clear that demand is increasing. I've been speaking to the Confederation of Passenger Transport. They say it's going to be the best Christmas Day service for at least a decade, and that the trend is getting better. And let me run through a few of the areas. Now, it's worth saying that it's always been the case that 3 parts of the country have had a pretty good service. That's the city of Edinburgh, the Isle of Wight, where they will once again be running a pretty near normal service on Christmas Day. And on top of that, in Liverpool, they've had free buses serving the major hospitals in the area on Christmas Day. But we're getting improvements this year, for instance, in the Thames Valley around High Wycombe, Marlow, Henley. A company called Carousel Buses is going to be running a good service there. If you are travelling around the Crawley area, Gatwick Airport, who wouldn't want to be there? Then there's improved services to and from Red Hill. And in Sussex, there's going to be for the first time in living memory, a bus on Christmas Day from Brighton to Lewes. So it might well be that wherever you are around the UK, there are improved buses.
And Simon, I know this may seem obvious question, but how would people know? How can they find out if there is a bus service operating in their area?
Well, the simple thing to do, well, how simple is it? I do not know. But if you just go online to your local bus company, it should be able to tell you, particularly if you use one of the journey planner things. I'm afraid 95% at least of your viewers are going to find if they say, OK, I'm going to go from my house to the shops, it will say, well, you won't be able to until Boxing Day. And by the way, Andrew, you're quite right. Most trains won't be starting up until Saturday, till the 27th. After Christmas Eve, and on the West Coast Main Line it's going to be pretty messy. But you still have to assume, I'm afraid, if you're going short distances, there will not be a bus for you. But if you look at the long distance coaches, they are doing more than ever. Flixbus, National Express on Christmas Day, hundreds and hundreds of buses. Lots of them serving airports, but also intercity services, for instance, Manchester, Birmingham, London. And there's always the flights, busier Christmas Day than ever in the air. And if you want to fly, for instance, from Scotland to London, well, there are still seats available at a price.
Simon, you're talking about whether or not there is a good service on Christmas Day, but on the other side of this are bus drivers and pilots and train drivers who have to work. Isn't this a vicious circle? The more transport we provide on Christmas Day, the more employers will be able to say to their employees, well, you can get to work, so therefore we're going to open the business.
Yeah, I mean, I understand great broadcasters on GB News are going to have to work on Christmas Day as well. It's just we're becoming a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, 365 days a year society. I mean, I hope that all the excellent men and women who will be driving buses on Christmas Day are going to be very well rewarded for that. And, clearly, if you're doing an 8-hour shift, say, you've still got a bit of time to spend with the family. But, yeah, I tell you what, I've worked on a good few Christmas days myself. It's also my birthday on Christmas Day, but I don't mind. It's interesting. And by the way, if you've been watching, you'll see that I've been waiting here in vain for a bus. Yes. There is the number 5A to Telford, which I've told is due.
Unfortunately, Simon, we can't hang around for your bus.
You know what's going to happen? You wait for a bus and then 4 come along. That's what's going to happen.
Well, don't go anywhere.
Happy Christmas to you, Simon, and to your family.